Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to participate and contribute to the organization. I'm very happy to do that. So I work for an organization called Oxford Policy Management, and I run what we call the urban portfolio, which concentrates on urban economics and large-scale projects in many different parts of the world. And I happen to have done a lot of work over the years on special economic zones. A lot of that work has been in Africa, but also in the Middle East and in Asia, and also some in Europe as well. So I thought I would just talk a little bit about some of the lessons that I've learned from that experience, particularly with regard to what the title here says, the fundamentals for developing new emerging industrial sectors within economic zones and free zones. So just very quickly, some final lessons from looking at these issues across many different places. I think you always have to begin with the national or the regional economic strategy. What are the priorities? How are our zones and our decisions about industries going to address those national needs? It needs to be grounded in evidence, particularly about the demand drivers. What is driving demand for certain types of goods in certain types of places? How do we capture that demand? Understand how the SEZ program facilitates a broader economic strategy. This whole idea that SEZs are part of a much broader series of mechanisms about economic development. Developing an appropriate industry sector selection framework, selecting industries based on evidence and based on having the right criteria that are meaningful for our particular economic priorities. Understanding industry value chains. What parts of the value chain for a particular industry are important? How can they be promoted through SEZs? And then planning the fiscal and the other incentives with these sectors, with these value chains and these locations in mind. And then physically plan and ideally locate an SEZ to respond to these things. I think the common challenge when you're doing economic and business strategies for SEZs, ideally, you would start with your national economic strategy, understand the industries that are important, understand the value chains, and then decide on a location that best addresses those needs. Usually it's the other way around. The first thing we decide on is the location, and then we try to fit in the best possible set of industries into that. But ideally, I think you would be physically planning and making decisions geographically with regard to market conditions and industrial opportunities, and planning, phasing, deploying infrastructure on the basis of that.